Hello everybody, my name is Brian Adcock and I am the race director and founder of Castle Triathlon Series. If you are a Sprint Plus competitor expecting to race with us on Saturday the 26th of September, then you are watching the correct video. Well done. If you are not doing the Sprint Plus, then you've clicked the wrong button. So unclick yourself, because what I'm about to say is irrelevant to you and you need to find the correct video for your race. So you guys that are doing the Sprint Plus, welcome to Hever Castle on the 12th running of the event. Obviously this year things are going to be a bit different because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the protocols that we need to put in place to make sure that everybody remains safe. Our 5 guiding principles are, in no particular order, firstly, that we want to communicate and educate our athletes, and so this video is part and parcel of that process, but also the other information that's on our website and the other information that we're going to send out to you in various emails is really important. And so please, this time, and I know some of you are not very good at reading things, but this year you need to read everything, please, before you come to the event, because we don't want you to have any surprises, because that will be bad for everybody. Okay. Second aspect is density reduction, which means basically a reduced size in field, and the fact that absolutely everybody is going to be let off on an individual basis at their start line, so sort of on a time trial basis, anything between 5 and 20 seconds between you and the next person that starts. So just to make sure that you're aware of that. I know some of you will be delighted, others not so. Touch point reduction, big aspect of trying to keep the opportunity for the virus to spread down, and there'll be certain aspects of the event that you would normally expect us to put on for you, which in this instance we're going to perhaps not have in place, and I'll explain what I mean by that as we carry on through the course of the brief. Fourthly, we're expecting you guys as athletes to be more self-reliant than you have been in previous years, and so for example, a lack of a water station out on the bike will need to be made up by you guys making sure that you have full water bottles before you start your cycle leg. So it's that kind of thing. And then finally, there'll be increased hygiene on the event. As you might expect, there'll be lots of hand sanitizers around. So please keep hand sanitizing where you can. Bring your own if you need to. Wear your own PPE if you want to. It's not a requirement from us, but we will have a PPE store on site for those of you that want to buy gloves and masks. There'll be more hand washing stations and more cleaning than you would otherwise normally expect at one of our events. So those are the sort of 5 principles. Enough of the kind of lecturing stuff from me, and without further ado, I'm just going to explain your race to you. So let me just share my screen, and we'll talk about the swim first of all. So you should be watching this video in conjunction with the other video that talks about how we're expecting you to arrive at the event. And at the end of that video, I talked about how when you come onto the loggia, there'll be 15 of you. You'll come onto this side first of all. I'll give you a brief about what you can see down the lake, and then you'll move over to this left-hand side of the loggia to start your race. So the way the race start will work is that there's a mat on the floor at the top of the steps, which are in this location over here. And as soon as you as an individual cross that mat, then your time starts. Some of you will be, no doubt, taking your time, and that's absolutely fine with us. Others will want to crack on as fast as they can. Just a word of warning, you're not allowed to dive in, and the steps that you have to go down are also very slippery. So please don't do yourself a nasty as you're trying to get into the water. There'll be no start line per se, because we're starting you from this set of steps over here, so ignore that green line. And then you guys who are doing the Sprint Plus are going to do 800 meters swimming, and you will swim out to this far buoy that's out here. There will only be 4 swimming buoys in the water, so ignore the 375 meter buoy, because that will basically be your buoy that's dragged this way for the guys doing the sprint distance. So you'll pass the first buoy, keeping it on your right shoulder 100, second buoy right shoulder 200, third buoy right shoulder 300, and then when you get to the 400 meter buoy, you're going to turn around that buoy, keeping it on your right shoulder, and as soon as you come around and you're kind of heading not exactly in the opposite direction, but almost in the opposite direction, if you look up down here, you'll see an orange archway, which is the swim exit point, and that is by the boat ramp that you normally exit the water at Hever. So no change really in terms of your swim, other than obviously you're going to go out on an individual basis with approximately 10 seconds between each of you. You can overtake, but please keep your distance of 2 meters out on the swim course. So you're going to have to do a bit of head up swimming, which I know will be difficult for some of you. When you get to the swim exit, normally you have a very large fellow called Simon pulling out of the water, but in this instance, to reduce touch points, we're not going to have Simon there, but we are going to put a couple of handrails in so that you can help pull yourself up and out of the water. As soon as you get out of the water, you turn immediately left, follow this track along here on some blue carpet, and then when you get to this point here, you're going to basically make your way up into this field, and transition is up here. And I'll talk about transition in a second using a different map. Just one on swim safety. We'll have exactly the same swim safety as we would normally have at the event. The only difference being that the guys in the powered boats will be wearing PPE, because they're the ones that will have to haul you out of the water and be in close proximity to you. So we are protecting them and protecting you at the same time by having them dressed up in PPE. Everything else exactly the same as before. If you come into any sort of trouble in the water, bear in mind it's all about 4 foot deep, so most of you should be able to stand up. But just in case you can't, then roll over onto your back and put your hand up in the air, and one of the canoeists will come over and make sure that you are okay in the first instance. Okay, that's your swim. So into transition, and you will come in this top left corner here through the deer fence, which runs along this side of the field, but you'll enter here, and then you'll be asked to run down to this corner of transition, and then there'll be either letters or numbers at the end of each of these rows of racking, so you can find your correct row and then run along it until you get to your bike. Once you're ready for your cycle, you run with your bike, obviously with your helmet on your head, down to the end of the rack, turn immediately left into this corner, and then all the way down into this corner to get to bike out. And when you get to bike out here, you've still got a further 80 meters or so to run along this side of transition till you get down to the mount point, which is just down here and next to the scaffold pedestrian bridge that we put in place for the event to enable spectators and others to get over the cycle track without coming to any harm. So that's transition for you. Okay, so then you go out on your cycle. You guys are doing 2 laps of a 20-kilometer circuit, and that is marked in red on this map here. So just to orientate you, this is the Hever estate here. This is transition, and your mount point is in this bottom left-hand corner of transition. The first 600 meters of your race is on the estate road along a road called the Back Drive. A few things to watch out for along here. Firstly, it's narrow. Secondly, there are a line of cones down the middle. And thirdly, when you get to this end, there are some very large speed bumps that will take you off your bike if you're not ready for them. Also, on your way back onto the estate, having done your 2 laps, then there will be other people exiting. It's not neutralized, so you can overtake, but just pick your moment, because it is tighter at some points than it is at others. Okay, so you're heading out to the public road. When you get to here, you will be on the public road at Marshall Point 1. That's the front entrance to Hever Castle. It does get busy, although at the time that most of you guys are going out, it should be okay, but some of you will come back and it will be a busy old area. So keep your wits about you. You turn immediately left and then you're on the public road. Just a reminder that this event is not closed in terms of the roads for cyclists. So you will have vehicles out there with you. You must stay into the left-hand side of the road at all times unless you're overtaking. Also remember to follow the highway code at all times and be respectful of other cyclists and other road users. It goes without saying, please don't drop any of your litter out on the course, because you will be disqualified without any question. I live locally, and I get a proper earful in the local pub if the roads are left in a mess after the triathlon. So please keep your rubbish on your person. Okay, the course itself, as soon as you come out the main gates, turn left, you go past the church and round this corner here is the pub, the Henry VIII, which is right by the front entrance of Hever Castle. You then drop downhill to Marshall Point 2. This is traffic managed. By traffic managed, I mean that we have a company called Shift Traffic Management who are all Chapter 8 qualified. They have stop-go boards and are dressed in day-glow suits, and they have the authority to stop cars to allow you safe access around corners and at T-junctions on the course. So that's the first of those there. But please listen to them. There are times where they've had traffic queuing for a few minutes and they're going to have to let it go. So there may be an occasion very few and far between, I hasten to add, where you may be asked to slow down or even stop in situ. So please obey what they say to you. So from there, you head uphill, what can only be described as a cheeky little hill. And when you get to the top of that, you're in the village of Mark Beach. Now, at this point, you're going to turn left, and you carry out in this direction, an easterly direction, as you carry on down here. You can see there that there's a left-hand turn for people on the starter try route, which is the blue route. That's not you guys. They're following pink signs. You guys are following yellow cycle route signs, and you'll be going straight on at this point here. So don't turn left there, otherwise you'll shorten your cycle considerably, and we will know. From there, you carry on downhill past a large house here called Stonewall Park, and when you get to the southerly point here, up in the High Weald of Kent, you're going to make a left turn just after a cricket pitch, and then head down here onto the fastest section of the course. This is all downhill towards the River Medway. And you need to take great care as you come down to this T-junction at the bottom here. This is a T-junction, and we will have traffic management there, but it is a very sharp left-hand bend, and if you get this corner wrong and you end up swinging into the other side of the road, then that's when we have problems. And we nearly had a serious accident there a couple of years ago when a young lady came around that corner too quickly, so please make sure that's not you. From there, you head north up into the village of Penshurst. Then just after the doctor's surgery in the village hall, you turn left. We're not going to have a water station this year unless it's a very, very hot day. Hence the reason for making sure that you have all that you need with you on the bike in terms of nutrition, both liquid form and also any bars or gels that you may need to carry, because there'll be nothing for you out on the course. Again, reduction in touch points. So from there, you climb uphill. By the way, you're at the halfway point when you get round here to Penshurst. You climb uphill. At the top of the hill, you'll be turned left. You go downhill over a railway line, and then another traffic managed junction here, turning left at Chiddingstone Causeway and passing a pub called the Little Brown Jug. You then handrail the railway line for approximately 3 kilometres until you come into the village of Bow Beach. This is probably the most dangerous part of your cycle course here at 11 Alpha. You're going to be turning left underneath a narrow railway bridge, and cars coming in the opposite direction are invariably in the middle of the road. So a bit of a nasty cocktail if we get that wrong. So we put a marshal on either side of the bridge. They both carry red flags, one on one side to warn motorists, and then one on the northern side to warn you to make sure you slow down and stay into the left-hand side when you come to that little bit on the course there. Then you climb uphill into the village of Bow Beach. You go straight on at the bridge, and you're on the southern side of the railway, and then you make your way back over the last 3 kilometres, which takes you up past the golf course, which is here, and then down towards the River Eden, and then back up to the entrance of Hever. Just a reminder that this will be busy. You guys are doing 2 laps, so do not come back onto the estate at this point, but continue straight on and then past the Henry VIII pub and carry on round for your 2nd lap. Exactly the same as your 1st lap, except this time when you come around to the front entrance of Hever, climbing up from the river, you take a left turn and then come back down the back drive, being careful of speed bumps, people coming out of the estate on their bikes, overtaking manoeuvres, and a narrow road. You'll dismount your bike just by the scaffold bridge and then come back into transition for T2. And I'll just get that map back up again. So when you come back into transition, this is where you dismount in this corner, and then you run with your bike all the way down to this corner, all the way across to this corner. And this helps us keep the one-way system through transition. You come back in line with whatever line of racking that you racked your bike on. You re-rack your bike, get into your running kit, and then again run straight on, turn left into this corner, and then all the way around into this corner. So I know it's a bit convoluted, but it does mean that we've got an ordered and one-way system within transition that everybody understands. Run out is in this corner, and then you head off in this direction and you head out onto your run. You guys are doing 2 laps of our 4.2 kilometer course. Let me just flash that up. And so you come out of the transition in this corner here, and then initially you run alongside the cycle route until you get to the bottom of what's called Shite Lane. And then you're actually going to make your way up through the wooded area to the top of Shite Lane, and then turn left and handrail the wood into this corner here. Once you get to this corner of Park Wood, you turn left into the wood and then run downhill towards the lake. By the time you get to the water station, which is on the end of Anne Boleyn's walk down here, you'll have done 2 kilometres of the first lap of your run. And you're going to be following black arrows on a yellow background on your way around this run. I'll remind you of this nearer the time. When you're about to depart at the start of your race, I'll hold up those signs so you can see what it is that you're actually following, and also how many laps you're expected to do. So from the water point, you run down over 16 Acre Island. You've got a bridge there and a bridge down here. That's the water maze just tucked in there. And then you're into the formal gardens of the estate. You run around the back of the squash courts and the actual castle itself and the Tudor village. You run past the Moat restaurant and then across the sort of main lawn that gives you a great view of the castle over your left-hand shoulder here, before hitting a gravel track that takes you up onto another level up here. And then you start bowling downhill on a bit of grass with about 300 meters to go before you complete your first lap. When you get to this location here, keep your wits about you. There are plenty of signs around. One will say to the finish. You guys are doing 2 laps of this 4.2 kilometer course. So don't turn right to the finish at that point, but continue on where it says 2nd, 3rd or 4th lap. And then that will take you into the loop that goes around the outside of transition. And you come all the way around the outside of transition back to this corner where you pick up the original route that you did on your first lap, and then you continue out again exactly as before. So same route for the second lap, all the way around past the water station, down the Anne Boleyn walk, around the back of the castle, up the gravelly hill, and then this time when you get to here, you can start your sprint finish at about 300 meters out, downhill on the grass, and make sure that you turn right where the arrow says to finish, and you'll finish in the main field here adjacent to transition. And that's pretty much your brief. Look after yourselves. Obviously, when you're out on the course, we've got full medical provision out there. And if you see any issues, then just please report them to the next marshal on the course. And they all have radios and we'll be able to get our first aid out there just a tiny bit quicker. Great stuff. Right. I think that's it. If you have any questions at all about any aspect of the brief that I've just given to you, then please just email us in the office on admin@castletriathlonseries.co.uk and we'll endeavour to help you. Otherwise, I'll see you bright and early on the morning of Saturday, the 26th of September, and let's hope we can get the triathlon away. Thank you for listening.